Hi, it's Joanie McMahon here, and I am so excited to share this material with you today. We're talking about the law of attraction, my absolutely favorite topic in the world. And what I'm going to share with you today is 9 important things to know about the law of attraction. Now, for sure, this isn't all there is to know about the law of attraction, but if you understand just these 9 things, you're going to be a whole lot wiser and wiser in terms of understanding how the universe works, why things are the way they are. And we can even just look at specific topics of humans, which are things like health and relationships and finances, etc. You can understand everything about those topics once you understand the law of attraction. So let's get started. Number 1. We are first and foremost vibrational beings. We are energy, and we emit energy through our emotions. Now, the very first person that I've ever heard that knew this was Albert Einstein. And all of us know by now that he was way ahead of his time in terms of understanding this. Very few people still understand it, but more and more are getting this. And when I first heard this, so I thought, wow, so our emotions are pretty important, and it's really important that we get a handle on them and we understand them. And so I wanted to live a life where I was feeling joy and happiness and contentment and peacefulness and enthusiasm most of the time, And so I thought, and then when I was looking around the people that I knew, I really couldn't find many humans that felt like that most of the time. People were pretty stressed, they were worried, lots and lots of people most of the people around me anyway weren't feeling happy most of the time by any means. So I thought, well, who could teach me about what it means to be content, to be peaceful? And I realized that right away an answer came, and it was the animals. All kinds of animals for sure. But what I chose to do was I chose to go to a nearby ranch near a city that I lived in at the time. And I just parked my car and I watched cows, funnily enough, and it makes me laugh now that I talk about this, but that's exactly what I did. I went and, sat and watched them eating and resting and, how they interacted with each other. And, they were calm and they were peaceful and content. And they were just enjoying their life, the basking in the sunshine. And, they were just so wonderful to watch. I learned so much, and I ended up going back to see them. I remember at least 5 times so that I could really get a handle on this. And, after watching them, I realized, wow, most of us humans are nowhere near the animals. And since then, I've learned that animals are energy balancers on our planet, and I can sure see why that's true. So, all right, let's get going on to number 2. Our emotions are what draws to us our reality, our life. And when we're thinking and feeling positive things, we receive positive things. And when we're thinking and feeling negative things, we are receiving negative things from the universe, whatever that might be. And so again, I thought, wow, our thoughts are pretty powerful, and our emotions. And every thought has an emotion that's attached to it. And every emotion has a thought that's attached to it. So they're interlinked. They're important. Our thoughts are really, really important. So when we're feeling good, good things come to us. And when we're feeling bad, bad things come to us. And that it's as simple as that. And so the name of the goal of life, if we want to have a magnificent life, is to rest primarily in positive emotions and find ways to do this, you know, and it takes a while to really get this because most of us are up and down, mostly down. And, you know, most of the time we are down. In fact, Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called The Power of Now. And when I read that book, there was a statement in there that said 90% of humans spend most of their time in negative emotion. And it just seemed, wow, I just couldn't believe that. But that's a lot of people, that's a lot of beings drawing negative things to them. And I thought, wow, we really, as humans, have a lot of work to do. So anyway, that's number 2. Let's get on to number 3. Ask and it is given. Really important words to live our lives by. And any of you who know anything about Jesus probably have heard this statement before from Jesus. And so, you know, he was the first person that I heard about that said, ask and it's given. Meaning, whatever we ask for, no matter how big or how small, the universe always says absolutely yes, it's yours. And Jesus taught that. Now, what isn't taught very well is our role once we understand this, once we ask. And you know, we're always asking every day. So for instance, if someone does something that's unkind to us, right away we're asking to have kinder people in our lives. If we don't have enough money to pay our bills, right away, you know, we're asking to have more money in our lives, etc. So if we ask for more money, it's always given to us. Always, always. Our role in this, though, it's important to know it, is that for us to receive what we want, whether it be more money, better health, anything, we need to get ourselves into a high vibrational frequency of emotion. And we have to do it consistently. So that's the role we play. Now I don't know where that's written. I just discovered this. I'd had heard about the ask and it's given for sure, but not the important role that we have to play in order for this to happen. So that's and probably number 3 of all of them is most important, that we get ourselves into a state of what is often called the art of allowing. Some of the most wonderful teachers in the world, Abraham Hicks, talk about the art of allowing. And in fact, they teach the law of attraction. That's their work. That's what they do. And so the art of allowing is moving ourselves step by step into positive emotion every day, and getting the skills and tools to do that. So you can understand that if someone rests mostly in negative emotion, that they don't know that they're doing it, you know, that they're drawing to them negative things daily. And so finding the skills to learn how to keep yourself in positive emotion, it's not easy, but it's possible. It's absolutely possible. And it's, you know what, once you start to practice it, it can be pretty easy. But it is the part that's most challenging for most of us humans. All right, number 4. Whatever we focus on expands. So we make whatever we focus on, we make more of. So for instance, if let's say we have 10 friends, for instance, and 9 of them treat us wonderfully, and we have one friend that's really irritating, you know, has done something that has irritated us, most of us spend a great amount of time focused on that one person, rather than the 9 that are wonderful, you know. And I think that that's true, that we have been trained either through our school system, through our, being parented, that our school system does focus mostly on the negative. For instance, when students make a mistake, very often it's highlighted rather than all the wonderful things that students do. And that's true often for many parents, that the behavior that gets the most attention is the negative behavior that a child does. And so most of us are very practiced in focusing on the negative, you know. And you can really tell this by looking at our news. You know, the news gets broadcast because people watch it, and most of the news is negative. So if we understand that whatever we focus on gets bigger. So for instance, if we're focused on that one friend that is really irritating, what that means is that we are actually attracting more irritating things into our life, into our lives. So, who wants that? None of us want that. None of us would ever do that on purpose, And if we're focused on, for instance, let's say we can't pay our bills and we're worried about that. Worry is a negative emotion, and people spend a lot of time focused on finances that are bothering them. And you can never get to better finances by focusing on the negative, but rather you have to find a way to focus on positive things about that topic, or else get off the topic altogether. So this is a really important one, that whatever thought we're thinking, in any given moment, we are making it a bigger focus in our life. And many of us repeat the same thoughts over and over and over again. So those, that focus expands. So, all right, so that's number 4, to really get gifted and on focusing on things that we want. We want to be focusing on things that we want. Absolutely. Now, number 5, this is probably another big one that most of us have problems even believing. I did, and I'll explain why. But everything that comes to us is something that we have attracted. Most of us are attracting negative things unconsciously. And if we want to be, do, or have anything in our life, we have to understand that anything that comes into our life is something that we have attracted. And once we become conscious of it, we can kind of play a game of this, because when good things come into our life and we understand that everything that happens is something we have attracted, we can pat ourselves on the back and say, wow, I attracted that. And likewise, when something that's negative happens, we can say, wow, I attracted that too. And, when I first heard this, I was experiencing a very deep depression after the death of my husband. And I learned this, and I thought, there's no way that this can be true. Like, there's no way that I would purposefully attract a depression. I just can't believe that. Or that someone would purposefully ever attract cancer, for instance, or ever attract a bankruptcy, let's say. That would be the worst of the financial, the financial topic. And, I just couldn't get my head around that, and I couldn't own the idea that I had attracted this depression that I couldn't get out of at the time. And so it took me about a year to finally understand that it was my thoughts and my emotions that were actually attracting and keeping my depression in place, And when I began to really examine my thoughts, I realized that, in fact, that was true, that a continual barrage of thoughts about how sad I was and how bad I felt. That is what had that had kept my depression in place. So when we realize how powerful we are, actually, that everything that comes to us is something that we can have control over, and it's something that we have attracted via our thoughts. Wow, this means, for me, that was a wonderful thing to learn, even though it took me a long time to believe it, because I realized that, wow, I could really start taking full control over my life, So, so even though it's hard to believe, any of us that are going through a rough time, and if we see anybody that's had something terrible happen to them, but once we really understand the language of vibration, then we really get it. We really understand how we could have attracted whatever comes to us. All right, number 6. So you can understand that this particular principle is super important. There's nothing more important than feeling good. Absolutely nothing. Feeling good is the key to all happiness and everything that we want. And so the goal, every single day, every single moment really, is what can I do to feel a little bit better? So let's take an example that we wake up, and right away we put attention onto the thought that we have when we wake up. And if it's a good thought, then that's awesome. We can think about that and increase that good thought, and think about something else that's great and build some momentum around that. And if it's a negative thought, we right away want to get a handle on that, because I'm going to go into it later, but thoughts have momentum. And so you don't want the law of attraction, for instance, to get a handle on that thought. You want to get a handle on it right away, and you want to say to yourself, what do I have to do right now to think something differently, And so there is a skill called pivoting. So let's say you have a negative thought that, something that happened yesterday bothers you. Right away you can say to yourself, you can pivot that thought and immediately think of something that you appreciate. Whether it could be nature, it could be your cat or your dog, or anything to help you feel a little bit better. And this idea that nothing's more important than feeling good, it's important all day long, all day long, checking in with each other, about how we're doing, because we want to make sure that we have a handle on the kind of thinking that we have. So that is number 6, and I really love knowing this, that there's nothing more important than feeling good. So I'm just going to give another example because it is so important. So let's say I wake up and I'm not feeling good, and I want to work on my business. But you never want to be working on something important to you if you're not feeling good, because you can never get a good outcome when you're feeling bad, ever. So it's way more important to get yourself feeling good, as soon as you can, whether that be, go out for a walk, or, call somebody, or get some sunshine, or, whatever it is. But you don't want to be working on anything that matters to you, or talking to someone you care about when you're feeling bad, because, good things can't come from that. So, all right, there's lots more to say on all of these, but let's continue with number 7. So number 7, we are expanding our thought, the universe, with every thought that we have. So we are really placed on this earth to be creators, and we've come forth to create. So when we have ideas and we manifest these ideas, we literally have become a part of the expansion of this universe. Now, I just think that's amazing that our role on this planet is so important, that we are creators. So, let's just take someone like Thomas Edison. How many, there's different numbers that people come up with about how long it took him to actually create the light bulb. But, he had such a knowing that he could bring us light in a different way than the candle, for instance. And it didn't matter how many times it didn't work. He just knew he could do it, And there's a quote that he said that is written down that, I know 20,000 ways not to make light, And but anyway, thank goodness, he stuck with it. And he trusted his inner guidance on that, What a wonderful creation. But everything around you, just look around you in the room you're in right now, everything was just a thought once and then became a creation, or a manifestation is the word that I use for things that have come forth. So, every wonderful thing that has come into your life, you can pat yourself on the back and just say, wow, I created that. So, all right. So that is number 7. Number 8. Now, number 8 is another one that's really hard to get our heads around. And honestly, for a lot of years, I did not know this and was attracting negative things. So, so number 8 is, in this attraction-based universe, whatever we say no to, we're actually saying yes to. So, I spent time, for instance, working in the women's movement at a rape shelter for women and children who had been battered and beaten, and so a lot of the focus in that shelter was working on violence against women, And so I realized, after I understood this particular principle, that we were actually creating, we put more attention on this topic of violence against women, and we actually made it worse by focusing on that, rather than focusing on the many wonderful men on this planet that are doing wonderful things and are not part of that kind of behavior, so or any cause that we might want to focus on, whether it be climate change or protesting a dictator in a country that is not democratic, or protesting, the way the diamonds industry is working in South Africa. All of these protests are well-meaning for sure, but they are actually making things worse. So in schools, for instance, there's a, no drugs policy, no smoking policy, no drinking policy. And in schools, that kind of behavior is pretty rampant, I worked in a little school, a school in the country, and of 300 high school students. And we discovered that, in this school, of course, there was a no drugs policy, but we discovered that 75% of the high school population were actually addicted to marijuana. And, so we were making the problem worse by having a no drug policy, So when we understand this, wow, we really have to, a lot of us have to shift our thinking. It took me quite a while, and for a bit I felt really disappointed that I had spent time focused on negative causes. But now that I understand and know, for instance, if I think of poverty and seeing children not eating any food, right away I move that thought to visualizing and seeing children eating at banquets with their lots of food on their table, and joyful and happy. And that's the quality of my thought, rather than the starvation and poverty. And I've learned to pivot, meaning if that thought comes up, I right away shift it to exactly what I'd like to see on the planet. And when lots of people are actually focused on what we do want, that's when changes happen. So when we do focus on seeing children, happy and healthy and eating lots of great food, we actually become a participant in the evolution of that happening on our planet. And I just love knowing that. And I love knowing how powerful we are, All right, and the final one is just a reiteration of how important and powerful the law of attraction is. And this is the law above all laws, and it's the law that governs everything. And it's, the law of attraction is kind of like our manager in the sky. It is managing everything that's, for instance, all of us have a whole list of things that we would like to have more of, or things that we would like to have differently. So if we might want a more beautiful home, or lots more money, or way better health, for instance. And the universe has heard that we want those things, and the universe is on it. They are literally orchestrating cooperative components to bring that into our existence. But our job is to get ourselves into this place of allowing, so that the universe can deliver it to us. Because as you heard, one of the key principles, all of these are important, but ask and it's given. It's absolutely given, no matter how big a request it is for the universe. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that, and there's lots more to know about the law of attraction, but I'll just stop here for now on this, and we're going to go more into what it means to be vibrational in just a moment. All right, bye for now.